Okay, so how do you win races? Where are your limits? How do you set expectations so that you're not disappointed but still remain ambitious with your running? Had a great question from Joey Tickle in the comments. I started running just over a year ago when I turned 40. Recently completed my first races, 44 minutes for 10K, and then an hour and 46 for the half marathon, neither of which felt that great or went to plan. But I've now got the bit between my teeth and want to dedicate myself to getting better. My question though is, how do you manage your own expectations and ambitions? How do you know your limits? I've got an idea in my head that I want to eventually win some races, but I'm sure a lot of people do and not everybody can. I feel like I've got it in me, but I'm also currently a long way off. I've got a lot to do on mobility and strength, and I'm conscious of setting unachievable goals and ended up disappointed or feeling like I failed. I guess the obvious answer is not to get ahead of yourself and just to enjoy the process. But my brain doesn't work like that, and you strike me as having a similar mindset, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Joey, you're absolutely right. I do have a similar mindset, and I think we're probably in the minority, and a lot of people who are watching this channel are also in the minority. Like, who cares that much about failing? As long as you can improve the relationship you have with failing, and in distance running, you cannot fail. You can only sort of win or learn. If you learn, and as I said before, if you go for a marathon and you hold the pace that you're aiming for 35K, and the wheels fall off with 7K to go, you've succeeded for 35K. And you know what you need to do, add the extra endurance and speed endurance, and you're gonna be able to do what you set out to do. For me, when I got into running also late. I was 27, but I knew that I couldn't be an elite marathon runner. I knew it had passed because a perfect age for a marathon runner is 27. I knew I'd take at least 3 years to get good enough to start winning local races and that kind of thing. And it happened very quickly for me, but I decided to go as a specialist in the 100K. It made sense that this really appealed to me, sort of going for 6.5 hours. The British record was 6:20, so I set my eyes on that, and I knew if I could get there, I would probably win the World Championships as well. And so that's what I aimed towards. And 6 hours 20 for 100K is about 3:53 per kilometer. And so as I was running 5Ks in sub 4 minute per kilometer pace, I knew that it was only a case of building my endurance. And this is how you should look at it. And this removes a lot of limiting beliefs. And you can go for it. And I knew that very quickly, within a couple of months, I need to turn professional at this. Because in order to compete with the very best who are doing it full time, I have to be full time also. And therefore, somebody has to be paying me to do this. That's the only way I can compete. And so I had to then specialize. What would I do differently? I would focus on the shorter distances. I only ever used the shorter distances, and we're talking all the way from 5K to marathon. I only ever used those as training for 100K or for 50 miles off-road, trail, mountains, etc. I only ever used the shorter distances as training. And if you get better, first of all, at 5K and then move on and improve that speed, natural raw speed, and then you look at things like, you've just mentioned it and alluded to it in the comments, mobility and strength. If you add more strength, and that improves your stride length, together with your speed, it's obviously going to have a knock-on effect. You're going to become faster with more glute strength, more hamstring strength, and more robust lower leg. Then what's that going to do for your 5K time? And then when you move up, it's going to be much easier for you to run faster times at the 10K and half marathon. Everything will make a lot more sense when you've already got the speed in your legs. Then if you just take strength as one example, and there are many of which I'll go through now, but if you take strength and you improve your strength, you're gonna be in the gym working specifically towards the running muscles, big power muscles, glutes and hamstrings, propelling yourself forward more, bigger stride length. Then you're gonna start to take care of your nutrition. And if you look after your nutrition and diet, so not just the stuff that you're taking in the race, but before and all the time, and that starts to get dialed in. What does it look like when you've got a leaner, lighter chassis to propel over the ground? So you've got strong glutes, you've got light chassis, you've got some speed work coming in all the time because you've put structure into your week. You've got the weekend long run, which very quickly becomes specific because you're working on speed for the 5K and 10K. And you've got the 5K and 10K intervals midweek. Then you've got a better diet, a lighter chassis, and then you're propelling yourself forward much more. How much easier is it for you to go faster? And how does that then add into your 10K time and your half marathon time and eventually your marathon time? So don't move up in distance too quickly. Think about the fundamentals. So think about, what can I do? It's all about doing the simple things right. So if you can get your sleep boxed off and you can reduce your stress, you're in such a better place to tackle the training. And for those people who say, I can survive on 6 hours, you've got to take enough sleep. You've got to realize that distance running, becoming to a point where you can win age group or win races, it's about being a professional recoverer. You've got to be great in sleep department. And so sleep, the rest and recovery, sort of lying down, reading a book whenever you can, being away from a full-time job is massively going to help you. But when I was able to do that and finally got my first contracts as a pro athlete, what I realized, the mistake I made was I thought I could train more. And so I trained more and I got injured naturally. But in actual fact, when I spoke to the right people, that was my opportunity to recover more. And so what happened when I recovered more, I was able to hit the sessions, especially the key sessions, much harder. My recovery was much faster and fuller, which means I could hit those sessions harder and gain more super compensation for them. So what I thought was more training, because I didn't have a full-time job anymore, was actually more recovery time, better sleep, reduced stress, not the stress of a job. And that compounds very, very quickly. So if you just think about the points that we've just mentioned, increased glute strength, increased strength in the gym, core strength, your style is not wavering in the final third of a race. You're lighter because your diet is on track. You got your nutrition right because you're taking everything super seriously. So you're fueled, you're not having a muscle breakdown, and you're pushing in the final third of races. What does that look like when you're able to consistently train hard? Wednesday interval session, Sunday long run, what does that look like very quickly? You're a different athlete in 3 months. If you box off the structure, the interval sessions, the speed, the long run, get your diet in order and start to eat like a professional athlete, treat yourself like a professional athlete 10 years before it actually happens. The recovery, the rest is there, the reduced stress, what does that all start to compound? There's 8 different areas, which include the technical stuff like exercise physiology. So getting into a lab and letting somebody have a look at you, what's going on with your blood as you're moving through the efforts on a treadmill. What does that then look like out in the field? And what the improvements look like. And then you work with an exercise physiologist to say you need to do a little bit more work at this level every week at this effort, and more at the top effort in order to improve your VO2 max, improve your lactate threshold levels at each level. Then what does that look like when you're trying to run a marathon or a half marathon or a 10K on the limit or 5K on the limit? These are massive improvements. Nutrition alone, and as I said on a recent video, running downhill to condition your quads so you're pushing in the final third of a marathon or final third of an ultra marathon, those 2 things alone should give you gold results. If you think about all of these things, you're going to hit the jackpot, and anything is possible. So you shouldn't set your goals too easily, because it's easy to set an easy goal and go, oh, brilliant, I hit my target. This is my problem with round numbers with running. You can go for a 3-hour marathon. I speak to people all the time. I'm just trying to break 3 hours for the marathon. What's your current time? 3 hours, 3 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me. You want to improve by 1%. Just go and read a book on running and you will improve by 1%. What you actually want to do is shock yourself. You can go for 240, and we look at under the bonnet, we look at your train, we look at the intervals, we look at long run, we look at what you're eating, what you're doing in the gym, everything, and we look where we can make these there's 8 different areas. We look what you are currently out of 10. I did this during COVID again, and I was like 7 out of 10 in diet, 9 out of 10 in the gym, 6 out of 10 in exercise physiology. I did everything, and I improved everything, and it compounded across and made me a way better athlete. And then I got to a point where I literally felt like I was cheating in races, because I was just within myself for like 3 hours and 46 minutes of a race, and then had to go hard for 5 minutes and win the race. I finished the race, I could have a normal conversation, I could have trained in the afternoon. It got that easy because exercise physiology, together with the nutrition, together with the downhill running and all the training coming together, made me feel as if I was cheating. It's mind-blowing, but people aim safe because they don't want to be disappointed. Don't be that person. Realize that nobody cares about what you're achieving. They just care that you're happy. So if you aim high, and I always use this quote, but it's cheesy, Aim for the moon and you'll land amongst the stars. It couldn't be more simpler than that. Go for it. And if you fail, you've succeeded for the distance that you held pace for. Think about it like that. Good luck, great question, and keep your questions coming in the comments below. And if you've got anything from this or the recent videos, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.